So, a recent update to the Hardcore add-on made it so that we now have death statistics recorded in the add-on itself, enabling people to see averages for the average death level by class across the entire time that they have been playing Hardcore, with it auto-recording every death that occurs while you are online. And reviewing this data for myself now, I've noticed that I've seen getting close to about 2,000 kills while playing Hardcore since this update came through. And I am absolutely staggered with honestly just how low the average level really is. I knew a lot of people died at low level, but not quite as consistently and as low as I thought. So I thought, having now leveled up many characters well into the double digits beyond the average levels that were suggested as the levels which people are dying through the add-on, that I would hopefully be able to bring out a video for you all today looking at some of the tips that I have for people who are struggling early on and dying in that sort of 10 to 20, maybe up to 25 bracket that seems to be killing off an awful lot of people. So let's dive into it. So the first thing that I want to talk about is going to be overconfidence. Now, overconfidence will kill you at any level, but it can particularly kill you at a low level because even if, let's say, you are an absolutely wonderful player of the game, when you are a low level, you don't have access to an awful lot of abilities to actually aid you in your performance. So even if you play everything perfectly, the fact that you simply have a very finite number of actions that you can take is going to be very limiting in what your character can achieve. Beyond this, of course, there is obviously the potential for you to overestimate your abilities and therefore have a comeuppance as a result. Overconfidence is never going to get you anywhere, and as a result I would highly recommend that you keep yourself modest and you attempt to do things that are definitely going to be achievable for you. If you want to push things, by all means do so, but just make sure you're not absolutely taking the mick and going for things that are utterly ridiculous to show off, because you will die. Next up, I want to talk about hyperspawning, or forced spawning, whichever term you prefer. Now, these are going to be something that you're going to come up against a lot during your leveling process, and they are something that's quite misunderstood by people. So the way that a forced spawn or a hyperspawn works is essentially that there is going to be a minimum number of mobs that the game considers need to be alive at any one time. So therefore, if you kill enough of the mobs, you will reach that finite number at the bottom, and then when it goes one below, another one will spawn. However, this has also got some sort of internal protections in the form of like timers and things, which is what results in really heavily farmed hyperspawns seeming to go empty and then everything coming back at once. Now, this is going to prove to be lethal, especially in a cave environment where you can be killing a mob, think you're absolutely fine, someone else on the other side of the cave kills one, and all of a sudden every mob in your half of the cave respawns. In that particular instance, what you're going to want to do is simply avoid that lethal situation. You just do not want to be in the cave with that as a chance of happening. But if you are going to be in there, of course, you are going to want to aim for either being in there when it's nice and quiet, when you're in control of the situation because you are the only person there and therefore no one else is going to trigger a respawn other than you. Or, of course, you need to have yourself an emergency exit or a panic button if anything were to go wrong, such as a rogue's vanish. That being said, you are going to be limited in your capacity to control this particular situation because, of course, it is dependent on other people, which is why I would generally recommend that while hyperspawn farming is actually a very good way of leveling because you can simply grind mobs endlessly and very efficiently, you do want to do so in an environment where it is quite open, you've got lots of escape avenues, preferably in the open world where you are going to be able to just walk away from any bad situation. But failing that, at least in a situation where you've got the capacity to be able to get yourself out if anything were to go wrong. Next up's a little bit of an unorthodox one, however, so we're going to talk about the queuing that people do for quest mobs. Now, this is something that you would think at face value is just going to be more of an efficiency matter than a survival matter. However, that's not entirely true. People do have to bear in mind that the person watching the video, me, the person making the video, and anyone else that you're going to be playing this game with is going to be human, at least for the most part. As a result, they are going to suffer from all of the same things that other humans do, be it emotion in the most part, or frustration. If you find yourself queuing for an hour for a quest mob, which personally I would say is a horrible idea, because in that hour you could have accomplished so much more. The queues at Zalazane on Horde side is absolutely ludicrous to me that people queue for an hour to kill a mob for a quest that gives you basically nothing. You could have easily grinded out 10 times that experience in that time. It makes no sense. But I digress. If you were to queue for that length of time, you are going to find yourself being very much impatient when you are doing it. You're going to get frustrated. As you're queuing and people steal the mob, which will happen, you're going to get even more frustrated. And then when you finally get it, the euphoria is going to take over. You're going to be on a high and feel invincible, and then immediately go run into a big pack of mobs and die. Yet more reasons why queuing for quest mobs is an absolutely horrible idea. There is basically no point that you ever want to do this. Now, I'm not saying that people should skip the queue, because that is a different inference as to social implications as to why that's a bad thing, but you simply just want to abandon the quest. Just don't do it. Anything that you can't just go and complete completely the same when you are playing in a busy environment as you could in a quiet environment is not something that you want to do. Failing that, if it's something that you really feel you need to do, it's a quest reward that you really want, or nostalgia simply makes you want to do that quest, you are going to need to do it at 4 a.m, or you're going to have to do it on a Friday morning when everyone's at work, or something along those lines, because it is simply just not viable to do things that are busy with queues. It just doesn't work. Now, my penultimate recommendation is going to be side goals. Now, side goals are actually going to be something that helps you massively when it comes to leveling. They're going to slow you down, and slowing you down is actually going to be a way that keeps most people alive. I could have probably summarized this entire video in slowing yourself down for the sake of being more secure in what you're doing, but that wouldn't have been quite as interesting. And also, people simply just wouldn't have done it without the reasoning as to why. So with all of that being said, if you take on side goals, which the most common of which are professions and things of that nature, and you tackle those first, you will find that you pick up a lot of experience along the way while simply attaining these side goals, as well as getting yourself a lot more gold so you can buy good items, or perhaps just picking up extra quests from the professions that you've unlocked, which get you even more experience along the way, or just these quest rewards giving you the extra gear that's going to make things a lot easier as you move forward. There is a whole lot of goals that you're going to need to achieve before you are able to get 60. It is not simply a race, or at least not in the sprinting sense, much more of a marathon. And the final thing that I alluded to there is going to be that you are going to need gold. Gold will keep you alive, because gold is going to be very helpful not only in training your class abilities or keeping your professions up to date, but even things like, say, the limited supply items that you can purchase from vendors. And I'm not going to go through all of these because there are literally hundreds. But along your leveling journey, there are going to be so many vendors that sell so many useful items, be it the peace blooms and things that you can purchase from the herbalism vendor in Terrace 4 Glades. There's the travelling weapons merchant in the Barrens who sells nice swords for people who are falling behind on their weapon progression. In Thousand Needles, you've got the vendor that sells scrolls and things that are going to be able to give you short-term buffs that are going to make it really easy to grind mobs. There are so many different things that you can purchase from vendors, and people often overlook them because of the fact that they're thinking they're doing the hardcore challenge, there's no auction house, gold is worthless until you need to buy your mount, so they just don't worry about it. But there is a lot of items out there that can help you massively when it comes to your leveling, and they are always something that you should be on the lookout, and finding these vendors and the useful things that they have available to you could well also work in well to our previous setting side goals goal, and it will enable you then to be able to slow down, purchase extra items, and take full advantage of everything that you've learned from watching this video. With all that being said, I do hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and if you have any more suggestions for things that you think I should have featured in this video, then let me know down below. But for now, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Laters.